This episode of the Burnout Recovery Podcast is brought to you by MEGA, your medical indemnity partner. Whether you're starting out in your career or have decades of experience, MEGA helps you thrive with support that goes beyond insurance. Enjoy travel benefits like complimentary travel insurance and Qantas points on your membership, plus education, medico-legal support, access to career coaching and wellbeing resources. Visit mega.com.au to learn more. Insurance issued by Medical Insurance Australia, which has not taken into account your objectives or situation. Before you make any decisions about our policies, please read our PDS and consider your needs. Call us for a copy or visit mega.com.au. Busy day, quick question, no time to dig. Heidi Evidence brings the evidence to you. Clear answers with citations you can trust. Completely ad-free, unlimited and region-aligned. Find evidence in the chaos. Search HeidiHealth.com.
Welcome to the Burnout Recovery Podcast, a guiding resource dedicated to healthcare professionals on their journey to overcoming burnout. Spearheaded by Dr. Joe Braid, a certified professional coach and rehabilitation physician.
Hello and welcome to the Burnout Recovery Podcast. I'm Dr. Joe Braid, your host, medical doctor of over 20 years, and someone who's just had a great wake-up call about what really drives success and recovery. Today, we're talking about the growth mindset paradox, but not in the way you might expect. We're talking about what happens when we become so focused on improving ourselves that we forget the most important ingredient in any transformation, our humanity. When we're so busy trying to become better that we lose connection with who we already are. This is our final episode in this block of 10, and I want to share something that happened to me just recently that completely shifted how I think about growth, effort, and what really matters in burnout recovery. Late in April, I got an email that really surprised me. My podcast had reached the top 3% of all global podcasts. Top 3% out of millions of shows worldwide. Big thanks. My first thought, it must be all that hard work paying off. All of those out of working hours, days and evenings, perfecting the scripts, all the marketing strategies and all the systems that I've built. I immediately started mentally cataloging all my efforts, all my grit, all the ways I'd optimized and improved my approach. But then I sat with it longer and something else emerged, a different truth. Yes, I had worked hard, but what has really made this podcast resonate wasn't my productivity systems or my content strategies. It was me, the human me. My life experiences as a doctor who burned out, my genuine care for other healthcare workers, my willingness to be vulnerable about my own struggles, and the human connections I'd built with listeners who felt seen and understood. It wasn't my optimization that created impact, it was my humanity. And that realization hit me like a lightning bolt because I see this disconnect everywhere in healthcare. We become so focused on being better healthcare providers, better colleagues, better leaders, better versions of ourselves, that we lose touch with the very thing that makes us effective, our human connection to ourselves and others. I think about a client I've coached recently, an intensive care nurse, let's call her Molly. She came to me completely disconnected from herself. I don't even know who I am anymore, Molly said. I'm just this thing that shows up to work, takes care of everyone else, goes home exhausted, and repeats. I feel like I'm watching my life from the outside. Molly wasn't lacking in skills or knowledge or even resilience. She was lacking in connection to herself. She'd become so focused on being the perfect nurse, the reliable colleague, the strong one everyone could count on, that she'd forgotten she was a human being with needs, feelings, and limits. Or Marcus, a paramedic who told me, I feel like I'm just going through the motions. I know all the protocols. I do good work, but I feel empty inside. Like I'm a robot programmed to save lives, but not allowed to have a life. And this is what I see over and over. Professionals including mainly healthcare workers who have become so good at functioning that they've forgotten how to feel. They are so focused on performing that they've lost touch with their inner experience. And they're so busy taking care of everyone else that they've become strangers to themselves. So the growth mindset tells us to keep improving, keep developing, and keep becoming better. But what if the real problem isn't that we need to become someone different? What if the problem is that we've forgotten who we are? There's a lot of research behind this concept. Dr. Kristin Neff's work on self-compassion shows that people who maintain a kind, connected relationship with themselves recover from stress and trauma significantly faster than those who focus primarily on self-improvement. A fascinating study published in the Journal of Occupational Health Psychology followed 800 healthcare workers over 18 months. They found that those who scored higher on self-connection measures, awareness of their own emotions, needs, and values, had dramatically lower burnout rates, even when working in high-stress environments. And the neuroscience backs this up. When we're disconnected from ourselves, constantly in performance mode, our nervous systems stay in a state of chronic activation. We lose access to what researchers called interoceptive awareness, our ability to sense what's happening inside our bodies and minds. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's research on trauma shows that disconnection from self is both a symptom and driver of burnout. So when we can't feel our own exhaustion, our own limits, our own needs, we keep pushing until we break. Here's what's hopeful. Studies show that even small increases in self-connection can have dramatic effects. A 2023 study found that healthcare workers who spent just 5 minutes a day checking in with themselves, not trying to fix or improve anything, just noticing what was true for them in that moment, they showed significant improvements in job satisfaction and emotional well-being within 4 weeks. Research from the Center for Mindful Self-Compassion reveals the most effective healthcare providers aren't the ones who've optimized themselves into perfect performance machines. They're the ones who maintain authentic connection to their own humanity while caring for others. And there's also compelling research on what psychologists call authentic functioning. Healthcare workers who feel connected to their true selves at work, who can bring their whole humanity to their roles rather than just their professional persona, report higher job satisfaction, better patient relationships, and significantly lower burnout rates. The paradox is this: when we focus on being human first and healthcare provider second, we actually become better at both. So let's get practical. How do we reconnect with ourselves? How do we remember we're human beings, not just healthcare machines? Let me show you how my 4 pillars become tools for self-connection rather than self-improvement. Sleep becomes about listening to your body's wisdom rather than optimizing your rest. Before you go to bed tonight, pause and ask, what does my body actually need right now? Maybe it's sleep. Maybe it's a warm bath. Maybe it's just lying down without your phone. Trust what comes up. Try this. Set a gentle alarm 3 times during your workday. And when it goes off, take 30 seconds to notice, how does my body feel right now? What emotions am I carrying? And what do I need in this moment? You're not trying to fix anything. You're just reconnecting with your inner experience. Support. This shifts from networking to authentic human connection. Instead of asking, how can this person help my career? Ask, how can I show up as a real human being in this relationship? Practice this. In your next conversation with a colleague, share one true thing about how you're actually doing. Not fine or busy, but something real. I did this towards the end of my 5-week stint in Sydney when I said, I'm really missing my family. And in a way, I'd taken off my professional mask, or I showed a side of myself that was maybe unexpected to this patient and their family member. And I really felt there was such a deeper connection so soon from not saying, I'm fine, thanks. Notice how it feels to be seen as a human, not just a professional. Mindset becomes less about positive thinking and more about honest thinking. Instead of trying to reframe every challenge, practice simply acknowledging what's true. This is hard. I'm tired. I care about this patient and I'm worried about them. I'm proud of the work I did today. Here's a powerful practice. End each day by asking yourself 3 questions. What did I feel today? What did I need today? And what am I grateful for about myself today? Not what you accomplished, what you appreciate about your humanity. And finally, with movement, this transforms from exercise optimization to embodied presence. Move in ways that help you feel connected to yourself. Recently, I've been using a foam roller of an evening just before bed, and I find 10 minutes on the foam roller is great. It's really giving me that chance to notice how my muscles feel and opening across my chest and spine and so forth. Maybe it's walking while paying attention to your breath. And maybe it's dancing in your kitchen because it makes you smile. Once a day, put a hand on your heart and take 3 deep breaths. As you do so, silently say to yourself, I'm here, I'm human, I matter. It sounds simple, but this physical gesture of self-connection can be profoundly grounding. And another tool can be like a humanity break during your workday. These are moments where you step out of your professional role and remember you're a person. Maybe it's looking out of a window and noticing the sky. Maybe it's texting someone you love. Maybe it's just sitting quietly for 2 minutes and remembering that you exist beyond your job title. As we wrap up this episode and this block of 10, I want you to consider this question. When did you last feel truly connected to yourself? Not performing, not optimizing, not improving, just being present with who you are. Here's your action step for this week. Choose one moment each day to practice what I call human recognition. Look in the mirror and acknowledge the person looking back at you. Not the healthcare provider, not the role you play, the human being. Say something kind, notice something you appreciate. And remember that this person, you, matters beyond what you do for others. Here's your reflection question. If you treated yourself with the same compassion you show your patients or friends, how would your life change? I suspect you'd find that when you reconnect with your humanity, everything else, your work, your relationships, your resilience, naturally improves. Not because you tried harder, but because you remembered who you are. Share this with someone this week. Tell a colleague or a friend one thing you appreciate about your own humanity. It might feel awkward at first, but it's a practice in seeing yourself as more than your productivity. Remember, you're not a machine that needs optimization. You're a human being who deserves connection, compassion, and care, especially from yourself. Speaking to the podcast host who has just had a beautiful massage in between podcast recordings today. Your humanity isn't something to transcend in your professional growth. It's the very foundation that makes everything else possible. Thank you so much for joining me for these most recent 10 episodes of the Burnout Recovery podcast. As we close this block, remember that the most important relationship you have is with yourself. Tend to it with the same care you bring to everything else. Until next time, be human first. Everything else will follow. Ready to take the next step in your burnout recovery journey? Visit drjoebraid.com for free resources, all 150 plus podcast episodes, and information about my keynote speaking. Links are in the show notes. Your well-being matters. Protect the asset that is you. You know those moments where you're between patients, everything's moving fast, and you just want to double check something without falling down a rabbit hole? Heidi Evidence helps you to get to a clear answer with citations you can see pulled from trusted guidelines, research, and even your own uploaded docs. It's completely ad-free, no sponsored results, no weird ranking, and it's unlimited, region-aware, and fits into the workflow you're already using. It supports your clinical judgment. You stay in control. Find evidence in the chaos. Search HeidiHealth.com. Be your best you. Rely on MEGA for your protection and support, serving doctors for over 125 years through insurance, education, medical legal advice, and member benefits designed to help you thrive and succeed. Insurance issued by Medical Insurance Australia, which has not taken into account your objectives or situation. Before you make any decisions about our policies, please read our PDS and consider your needs. Call us for a copy or visit mega.com.au.